We're going to start standing this evening. So just find a nice, comfortable standing position. So whether that be with your feet together or hip width or maybe slightly wider. Really listen to actually where is your natural standing position. And gently close your eyes and then just feel the ground underneath your feet. So this is our last class this evening, focusing on the 4 quarters of the moon. We've already done the other 3 and now we're into the waning moon. So tonight is really about self-care and looking inwards. So as you stand here on your mat, just notice exactly where your comfortable standing position is. So notice how your feet touch the mat. Notice where your weight automatically goes to, whether it's equally balanced between your forefoot and your heels, or whether it's maybe more in the toes or more in the heels. See if you can feel, without looking, whether your feet are parallel or whether maybe one foot's slightly turned out or slightly turned in. Maybe give your feet a little shake and put them back down, and then just see if they land somewhere slightly different. And then feel through your body, still keeping those eyes closed, as to how you are when you're stood comfortably. Are your palms facing backwards? Are your palms facing forwards? Are your shoulders relaxed down your back, or are they still hunched over with the stress of the working day? Or not working day? Whatever the case may be. How does your spine feel? Does it feel like you're honouring your natural curves? Does it feel like you're stood up tall? Or does it feel like there's tensions in the spine? Just notice exactly where you're at, just stood, standing comfortably. Notice your head. Feel whether your chin is parallel to the floor, or whether it's slightly turned down or slightly turned up, or maybe slightly turned to the left or slightly turned to the right. Just simply noticing your natural gait of your standing position. And then let's energize our standing position, really giving our body the care it needs. So take your weight forwards and backwards and side to side, and find that sweet spot where your weight is perfectly balanced between the forefoot and your heel. And then have a little bit of bounce in the knees. We want to keep our legs quite active, imagining our knees above our ankles and our hips above our knees. Then rock the pelvis forwards and backwards, sticking out your bum and then tucking the tailbone under. And just find that comfortable space halfway between the two, where the pelvis is neutral. And then really reach your head up to the ceiling, lifting up and out of the waist to elongate the spine. Take a roll in the shoulders and roll the shoulder blades down the back, opening the palms to the front. And then balance your head on top with your chin perfectly parallel to the floor. And then take 3 deep breaths, the biggest, longest breaths that you've taken all day. See if you can make each breath slightly longer than the one that preceded it. Then trying to keep this awareness about the body, we'll do the rest of our practice this evening. So really tune in to where your tight spots are, how you can modify the pose to really serve you best this evening. We'll start by taking a slightly wider stance wherever your feet landed and a slight bend in the knees. As we inhale, we'll stretch the arms out to the sides and up above our heads. And then we'll exhale down the front of the body, bending back into the knees. So inhale the arms out to the side, reach up. And then exhale down the middle, coming into a slight squat. Good. Inhaling up. And then exhaling back down. Inhaling up. Really reaching tall, and then exhaling down. Inhaling up. And then exhaling down. One more, inhaling up. And exhaling back down. Then bring the arms by the sides and come back up to your nice tall standing position. Reorganise the feet wherever they feel most comfortable. And then we'll do a few block breaths. So inhaling the arms up in front of the body for a count of 4. Holding the breath in at the top for a count of 4. Exhaling the arms out to the sides for a count of 4. And then holding them out at the bottom of the breath for the count of 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. In. Hold. Out. Hold. In. Hold. Out. Hold. Last one. In. Hold. Out. Hold. Excellent. And come down onto all fours. So knees need to be directly below our hips, and our hands can be below our shoulders or maybe slightly further forward if that causes any pain in the backs of your wrists. And then we'll do a few rounds through cat-cow. So as you inhale, let the belly come down towards the mat, the sit bones go up towards the ceiling, and we look up towards the ceiling. And then as you exhale, curl the tailbone under, round through the spine and drop the head. So we're inhaling as the belly comes down, and we're exhaling as the back goes up towards the ceiling. So really feel as you move with the breath here, so keep moving, inhaling as the belly softens and you look up, and then exhaling as you draw the belly in and you drag the spine up towards the ceiling. And as you move nice and slowly from one to the other, really feel the length of the spine. Notice if there's any areas that maybe are tighter than the others, whether there's any areas that are moving really fluidly and easily, whether there's anywhere that's stuck. Just really gently and slowly keep moving with the breath. Inhaling as you go down, exhaling as you go up. And equally, pay attention to other parts of your body. So as we're going through these movements, if there's any tension in the back of the wrist, then move the hands slightly further forward. If there's any pressure in the knees or the knees are uncomfortable, then pop a cushion under the knees or fold the mat underneath them. Just really thinking about what serves your body best. Then coming back to neutral, take a nice big inhale at centre, and then exhale, look around towards the right hip. Then inhale back through centre and exhale around, look towards the left hip. And we'll just move with your own breath. So don't worry about what I'm doing. Just inhaling through centre and exhaling to curve that spine into a C shape. And again, really search for those areas in the spine that are moving really freely, and really search for those areas in the spine that maybe need to be freed up a little. Just noticing how your back feels this evening. Good. And then once you've done both sides equally, come back to your neutral spine. Take your hips down towards your heels and come into child's pose. So walk the fingers as far forward as you can, so the arms stay raised off the ground to start with. Relax the head down, and then take your awareness to your hips. If you feel any tension in your hips at all, have a play around with where your knees are. Maybe they need to be closer together, maybe they need to be more out to the sides. And then once you're in a position that's really comfortable, really try to lengthen the spine. So walk those fingers as far forward as you can reach. Encourage the sit bones down towards your heels. Take one more breath here, really lengthening as much as you can. And then lifting the head, bring the shoulders back forward, so we're rolling over the knees. And then gradually let your hips come down towards the mat, moving the spine in the other direction. Letting your feet come up if that feels comfortable, or keeping them long if that feels comfortable. So if your feet are up, your hips will tend to hang, and if your feet are down, then your hips will tend to move down towards the floor. Really stretch the chest forwards, even if you need to bend your arms in order to accommodate that. We want to try and get a nice even curve down the whole of the back. So bring your chest closer to the ground in order to achieve that. And then roll all the way down. Looks like everyone has issues with their internet this evening. So then coming back to a child's pose, letting the back really elongate again, stretching those fingers forwards, remembering the best place to put your knees, whether your knees are together or whether your knees are out to the sides. Really lengthen that spine. Nice big inhale, and then exhale as you come back forwards again, maybe rolling over the knees or keeping the legs long, whichever feels best. And then dropping the hips and stretching that chest forwards. Really trying to increase the curve in the spine. And then pushing back up, drop the toes down to the floor if they're not there already, and push up into our first downward dog of the day. Or of this class, you might have already done a downward dog. So then have a wiggle and a jiggle here. So maybe you feel like padding one heel down to the floor, followed by the other heel. Maybe you feel more like keeping your knees bent, but stretching your chest through towards your thighs. or wiggling through the shoulders, or maybe wiggling through the side body and the hips. Whatever you feel your body needs, wherever it feels like it needs to stretch or wiggle or jiggle, then let it do what it's crying out for. Take 3 deep breaths in your downward facing dog. And then looking forwards, tiptoe towards the top of your mat, ending up with your feet behind your wrists. Bend the knees a lot and allow your head to sink down towards your shins. So we're coming into a forward fold where your upper body is completely relaxed on your thighs. And just allow the head to hang heavy, giving the neck a little rest, a little bit of decompression after carrying your head around all day. Hands can be on the floor, or you can give your legs a hug if that feels good, or let your arms hang in ragdoll. Do whatever feels good for your body. And then very gradually roll yourself all the way up to standing. Really rolling the spine up bone by bone by bone. And then inhale the arms up above the head, reaching up, looking up. And exhale the hands down through heart center. Good. Okay. Inhaling arms all the way up to the ceiling, looking up, stretching up. Exhale, fold forward into your forward fold. Nice big bend in the knees. Inhale, halfway lift, long back, long neck. And then exhale, fold. Take the left leg back. Keep the right foot grounded. Left leg knee can either be high or you can drop the knee down towards the floor, wherever you feel most stable. Then inhale the arms up above the head, looking up towards the ceiling. And again, play around if you've got your knee down with your back toes. Might feel better with your toes tucked under, or maybe with your foot flat on the mat. And then drop the hips forward and down, whichever leg position you've chosen. And then stretch the arms back behind you, really opening the chest towards the ceiling. Hands can be shoulder width, or you can bring the fingers together if that feels good. Couple of breaths here. And then float those hands back down to frame the front foot. If the back knee is down, then tuck the toes and lift that knee. And then everybody step back to plank. Really lengthen the spine. Tuck the tailbone under. Engage the legs. Stretch the heels down towards the mat. And then either bring the knees down to the floor and then the chest and the chin down to the floor, or work your way through chaturanga down to the floor. Then we'll all come into cobra. So hands just below the shoulders. Really stretch that chest forwards. Relax the shoulders down the back. Trying to really lengthen the spine and curve it evenly from your tailbone all the way up to your skull. Then exhale everything back down to the mat. Tuck the toes. Press yourself back through a little child's pose and up to downward facing dog. Take a couple of breaths here. Then float the left leg up towards the ceiling, really stretching that toe as high as you can. And then notice your right foot on the mat. Notice where the pressure point is, where you're holding your weight in the balls of the feet. Then swing your left leg forwards and place it between your hands, giving it a little tug if you need to. And either keep the knee raised or drop it down as before, whichever suits you best. And then inhale the arms up above the head. Find your balance and your focus first, then let the hips come forwards and down. Still keeping strength in those muscles and strength in the joints so the body's safe. And then reach the hands back. And again, the hands can be shoulder width or bring the fingers together. Opening the chest up towards the ceiling. Have a couple of breaths here. And then float the hands down to frame either side of the front foot. If the back knee is down, tuck the toes and lift it up. And then everybody step forward to a forward fold. Big bend in the knees. Hang the body over your legs. Take a nice deep breath. Then inhale into your halfway lift. Long back, long legs. And then exhale, fold. And then inhale as you very slowly roll from your tailbone all the way up, bone by bone by bone by bone in the spine. Rolling the shoulders back and down last as you come back up to standing. Beautiful. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, folding forwards. Nice big bend in the knees. Moving really slowly and mindfully this evening. Inhale, halfway lift, long back, long neck. And then exhale, fold. Take the right leg back this time. Once again, either drop the knee or leave it raised, entirely up to you. Keep the right hand on the floor, or if that's out of reach, come onto the fingertips or use a block. And then inhale the left arm up towards the ceiling. And then notice what you have to do with your body in order to keep this balance and keep this shape. Notice how the feet are pressing into the mat. Notice which muscles are engaged, and can you engage something else to make the pose easier? Can you reach up with your left arm? Is there any compression in your left hip? Can you pull your belly away from your thigh to release that compression? Or maybe move your knee out to the side slightly. One more breath here. And then bring that left hand down to the inside edge of the front foot. Drop the back heel onto the mat and open up the twist to the other side. And feel how that changes, how stable you feel. Feel how maybe the compression in your front hip has changed. Maybe you need to adjust that knee again. Or maybe lift up onto the fingertips so that your torso isn't as low close down on your thigh. Take 2 more breaths here. Really noticing everything about this pose and what your body needs to do to stay in it. And then windmill that hand back down to the mat. Come onto the toes of the back foot and step the front foot back to plank. This time we're going to take the hips up into a downward facing dog. And then as you come forwards, take the hips down to the floor into an upward facing dog. Untucking the toes if that feels more comfortable. Stretching that chest forwards, engaging the legs so the knees pop off the floor. And then pull the tummy muscles in, take the hips back up, roll over those toes again, and feel all the different movements in your spine to move from one to the other. So bring the hips forward and down. Feel how the spine moves to achieve that curve. And then take your hips all the way back up again, pulling those tummy muscles in and feeling how the spine changes its position to get back into downward facing dog. Then float the right leg up behind you, really stretching those toes up towards the ceiling. Take the attention towards the standing left foot. Notice where the weight is in your forefoot and whether that's different to the other side. Then as you exhale, bring that foot forwards, place it between the hands, giving it a little tug if you need to. Left hand stays on the floor, or it can be on a block. And this time we inhale the right arm up towards the ceiling. Really trying to make this pose as comfortable as possible. Engaging what we need to hold the pose and be balanced. Pressing the feet into the mat, pulling the tummy muscles in to release any compression in the hip. Maybe playing with the position of the knee or the foot or the ankle to make us the most comfortable we can possibly be. One more breath here. And then with your exhale, windmill that hand down to the foot, in to the inside edge of the foot. Drop the back heel down and open the left arm up towards the ceiling. And feel how that changes. Adjust yourself to make yourself the most comfortable you can be. Pull all the muscles in to make the pose as stable as you can be. Play with your head positioning and where your gaze is, whether that's down towards your toes or whether it's up towards the thumb of the raised hand. What feels best on your neck? One more breath here. And then windmill the hand back down to the mat. Come onto the toes of the back foot and then step that foot forwards, coming into your forward fold. Nice big inhale as you come into your halfway lift. And then exhale to fold. Inhale, roll all the way up to the top, rolling that spine up bone by bone by bone, with the head coming up last. Inhale the arms up above the head. And then exhale the hands down through heart center. Good. Coming to face the sides of your mats. I'm going to do a little balance now. So really ground down through your left foot. Really go back to noticing your balance on that foot. Whether the weight needs to be forward or back or somewhere in the middle. Side to side. Find that sweet spot. And come onto the toes of the right foot. Then think about the rest of your body. So lift everything in and up as though you're squeezing your whole body in and up. Head's balanced on top. You might be most comfortable with your hands at heart center. You might prefer your arms straight out at the sides to give you more balance, or maybe hands on hips. Do what feels natural. And then with that balance, with that control in the standing leg, we just raise our feet off the floor slightly, bending the knee forwards. And really focus on everything you need to do to stay upright, to keep the hips level, and to feel really strong in this pose. Maybe squeezing the calf muscles, the thigh muscles, the bum muscles, the tummy muscles, everything lifting in and up. Or maybe you need to press the big toe down. Work out what you need to do to hold this pose. And then with that strength and that knowledge, do 3 little lifts of that knee to the front, being the sturdiest you have ever been in your balancing postures. Then stretch that leg out straight, and then lift the leg completely straight 3 times, being really strong. Excellent. Then bring the knee back bent and take it to diagonals, whatever that is for your hips. And then raise that knee 3 times. Good. Then stretch the leg out long and raise it 3 times. And if something's not working for you, then change something. If you need your arms out to the sides to have better balance, put the arms out to the sides. Then come back to center, place that foot down onto the floor, and we'll move to the other side. So start by really focusing on that right foot, getting your weight exactly right on that right foot. Standing up nice and tall, pulling everything in and up, all around the torso, squeezing it in and lifting it up. And then take the left foot off the floor. 3 little knee lifts to the front, keeping really strong. Noticing that what you need to do on this side might be different from the other side. Which muscles do you need to squeeze? What part of your foot do you need to press down? Then lengthening the leg, lift it 3 times to the front. Excellent. Notice where your gaze works best. Looking down, looking straight ahead. Take the knee out to an angle and lift it 3 times, staying nice and tall. Brilliant stuff. Then take that knee out long and lift it 3 times once more. And then drop that foot back down. Beautiful stuff, guys. Great balancing poses. Okay, taking it a little bit further this time, I'm just going to go to the side to show you. So we'll start with the bent knee. So lifting the left knee up in front of us. And again, play with what feels most stable, whether your lifted foot being flexed feels more comfortable or whether you'd rather have it pointed. So play with that foot expression. Then bring your opposite hand to the knee. So we're holding our left knee in our right hand. And then keeping really, really strong and really balanced over the standing leg, we'll open out the other arm to the back and then finally take our gaze round into a twist. So really standing on that right leg, left knee up, holding onto it with the right hand. Stretch the left arm out behind you, squeeze everything in, and then twist the head around to that back hand. Looking back, reaching back, getting a good twist through the spine, but keeping yourself really grounded and really balanced, squeezing those core muscles in and up. Then slowly bring the head back to center and bring the arm back too. Release the hand, release the leg, then we'll do the other side. So really ground down through the left foot. Really find that balance over the left foot. Lift up the right knee, play with the foot as to whether you prefer it flexed or whether you prefer it pointed. Hold that right knee in your left hand. Really ground down, keeping your eyes focused forwards to start with. Open the right arm behind your back. Squeeze everything in and up. Really ground down through the standing foot. And then lastly, take your gaze all the way around the room until you're looking at your back arm and you can increase that twist further. Really grounding down through the standing leg, keeping strong in the pose, lifting everything in and up. Keep breathing, keep stretching and twisting. And then very slowly bring your gaze all the way back around again until the gaze comes to the front. Bring the back arm down by your sides and finally release the leg. Good. Okay, we're going to do a second round of these. This time it's up to you whether you keep hold of the knee or whether you want to go with your peace fingers around the big toe and straighten the leg, or if you find it easier, holding onto the outside edge of the foot for the twist. If you find that your standing leg is bending, then go back to holding the knee, because we want this standing leg to be nice and strong and long. So if you need to bend to reach the foot, it's okay to start with, but you want to be able to have both legs straight before you twist. Otherwise, stay with the bent knee. Okay, so starting with the right foot grounded. Get your weight perfectly over that right foot. Lift the left knee and either hold onto it with the hand or go down for the foot if that's in your practice. Holding that leg in whatever way makes sense to your anatomy. Take the left arm out behind you. Squeeze everything in so that you're really sturdy in your pose before you move your gaze. And then take your gaze around behind you, looking for that back arm and seeing if you can increase the twist any more once you get there. Really grounding down through that standing leg, keeping the focus, keeping everything pulling in and up. engaging what you need to hold the pose, and then take the gaze back around towards the front. Release the left arm, bend the right knee in, and then release the leg. Beautiful stuff. Other side. Last one, you'll be pleased to know. So really ground down through the left leg on this side. And either bring the right knee into your left hand or go down for the foot if you want to stretch the foot. Start by keeping your gaze straight forwards and reach the right arm back. Squeeze everything in to get really sturdy in your pose. Then take your gaze around the room to look at the hand behind you, seeing if you can increase the twist slightly when you get there. Really pulling everything in and up, grounding down through that standing foot. One more breath here. And then slowly take that gaze back to the front, release the back arm, bend the knee in if you haven't already, and drop it down to the floor. Well done. Balancing practice complete. Okay, coming to the tops of your mats. Inhale the arms up above the head. And then exhale, fold forward. Really big bend in the knees. Inhale to stretch the back, long legs. And then exhale, fold. Take the left leg back, followed by the right leg, coming into downward facing dog. Really stretching that chest through towards the thighs. Doesn't matter whether the knees are bent or whether they're straight, whether the heels touch the floor or whether they're in midair. What's most important is trying to get a straight line from your wrists all the way up to your sit bones. So really lengthen that chest through towards your thighs. And then have a stretch wherever you feel you need a stretch. And then we'll jump the feet halfway up your mat and cross them over. Then we'll bend the knees and take the hips all the way down to the floor so we end up cross-legged. And then we'll take the feet straight out in front of us. So here's some options here for you. You can either keep the legs long or you can have the knees bent. We're just going to do a straightforward forward fold to start with. So if it's more comfortable for the knees to be bent, then do that. If you have super long and flexible hamstrings, then you can have the legs out long. Depends on how you feel. There's a lot going on in this pose because we're asking our whole backline fascia to bend double, and it's generally quite tight. So be kind to yourself in the theme of self-care. So I'm going to do it with bent legs today. So start with really sitting up tall, stretching your legs out in front of you. Keeping the back nice and long, pivot from the hips as far as you can, and then allow the upper part of your body to relax and roll over the lower part of your body. If it feels good to hug underneath your legs, if you're doing like me with bent knees, then hug underneath your legs. If you'd rather have flexed feet and pointed toes, then flex the feet. This is a real inward looking pose. So just notice how your body feels since we started practice. Maybe it's changed slightly since we did the breathing at the start. Notice if there's any parts of your back that feel a little bit more loose than when we started, or whether they still need work. Really notice your body expand onto your thighs as you take a nice big inhale. Getting that instant feedback as to whether you're breathing in your chest or all the way down to your belly, or maybe a mixture of the two. relaxing any tension that you might have in the shoulders. And just noticing that the longer you sit in this pose, maybe something opens up, maybe it doesn't. Maybe the breath gets deeper, or maybe it doesn't. Just notice whatever is going on in your body this evening. Notice whether you can sit here quite comfortably without making any movements, or whether you feel fidgety. You feel like you need to keep moving, maybe repositioning your arms or wiggling in your shoulders. Just take another 6 deep breaths sat here, noticing all these things. And then gently raising your head slightly, see if you can walk your feet out a little bit. Maybe even put the legs flat. And then sitting up tall once more. Really sitting up out of the hips. Pivot forward from the hips. And then roll your body over your legs again. Just notice how that changes the sensations in your body from having bent legs. Or if you did it with straight legs, then do the opposite and bend your legs and see how that changes the stretches and strains in your body. And take 3 deep breaths here. Really breathing deep into the belly and the lower back. And then very, very slowly, once you've done your 3 breaths, use your hands to roll, to support the weight of your body as you roll yourself back up to seated with the spine up nice and tall. Maybe doing a couple of rolls through the shoulders if that feels good. Maybe you feel like you want to do a seated twist. Move in whatever way the body wants to. And then once you've had your wiggle and your jiggle, take your hips further down the mat and roll the spine all the way onto the floor. From here, take the arms out nice and wide. Lift up the hips, scoot them over to the right and pop them back down again. Then either simply hug the knees in, or if you want a deeper twist, cross the legs over, so you cross the right leg over left, and then roll the legs over to the left hand side. Maybe using your left hand as extra weight on the legs if you want to, or encouraging your ribs to twist, or maybe your hips. And then think about grounding down through that right shoulder, maybe looking out towards the right hand, making your twist your own. Take a couple of breaths here. Trying to release all of your body, all of your limbs, all of your muscles. Let them melt into the ground beneath you. Then coming back to centre, remove your hand if you were using it so that your arms are stretched wide once more. Take a nice big inhale, and on the next exhale, pull the tummy muscles in towards the spine and roll the hips back down onto the mat with the feet coming down last, untangling your legs if you need to. Then straighten yourself back up again, lift up the hips, and scoot them over to the left and then drop them back down. Hug the knees in and either keep the knees side by side, or if you feel you need a deeper twist, then cross the left leg over the right and then roll the legs over towards the right. Maybe using your hand as extra leverage on your legs or your hips, or maybe pulling from your ribs to try and increase the stretch. Doing whatever feels good for your body this evening. Trying to keep the left shoulder grounded as much as possible, looking out towards the left hand. And then go back to the breath. Using the breath to go deeper in the pose if that feels good. Or maybe just using the breath to wiggle out any tight spots. Trying to be as relaxed in this pose as you possibly can be. And then take 3 really deep breaths here, letting your body melt into the ground beneath you. And take a nice big inhale. On an exhale, pull the tummy muscles in, roll the hips back down onto the mat. Release the legs with the feet coming down last, and then straighten yourself up. And then I'm going to give you completely free will to move your spine in 2 directions, and it's up to you which 2 directions you do. If you want to do a lateral bend, so stretching out down the side body, if that's where you're feeling stiff, and come into a wide leg forward fold, and gently moving with the breath, come from one side over to the other side, moving as quickly or as slowly as you like. If you would rather do a forward bend to a backward bend, then there's lots of options here. You could do cat-cow. You could go from your child's pose into your cobra, or if you want to do something reclined, then you could go from your bridge pose into your happy baby pose. So forward bends or backward bends. And if you want to do twists, then obviously we would twist in both directions. So you could do any twist in your repertoire. I'm in quite a twisty mood this evening, so I'm going to do twisted pigeon, but I know some of you hate pigeons, so don't feel like you have to do the same. So make sure that you do both sides evenly. Maybe take 6 breaths to each side. So whether you're going side to side lateral bends, do 6 left, 6 right, alternating. If you're doing forward bends to backward bends, maybe do 6 breaths in your forward bend, 6 breaths in your backward bend. If you're doing twists, then do 6 breaths one side, 6 breaths the other side. If you're holding one side and then going to the other side, then maybe switch to the other side now. Going through whatever movement suits what you've chosen. And notice how one side differs from the other. If you're doing forward and backward bends, maybe you find forward bends easier than backward bends, or vice versa. If you're doing twists, one side will always be more open than the other. Same with lateral bends. And then release off whatever pose you are in. Roll over onto your back. And we'll start by bringing the feet hip width as wide as your yoga mat and rolling our spine down onto the mat. Now, whatever we've done with our back is obviously integrally linked with our legs. You can't make a movement of your upper body without it affecting the lower body in some way, shape or form because of the psoas muscle. So let's just windscreen wiper our legs from one side to the other. Just freeing up any tension that we might feel around the hips or the lower back, or maybe in the upper legs or inner thighs. Moving as fast or as slow as suits you. Just dropping one knee into the centre, then windscreen wipering over to the other side and dropping the other knee into the centre. Arms can be down by your sides or out from your shoulders, or maybe hands on hips if that feels good. And then once you've got one knee dropped, really stretch it away from you to stretch it all the way down the side of the body and maybe through into the inner thigh. Squeezing that core in and up as you do it, so we're stretching in opposite directions. Just noticing how that feels that side. And then switch it over to the other side. So really stretching the knee away. And then lifting the inner core in and up to really stretch in both directions as though you were wringing out a towel. Then coming back to centre, bring the feet so that they're parallel to one another, arms down by your sides. The only thing we'll do here is consciously breathe in and out whilst we're pressing the feet into the ground and then releasing the feet. So take a nice big inhale. On an exhale, press your feet into the ground. Inhale here. And then exhale, release the pressure in the feet. And just notice what happens in the rest of your body as you make that movement with your feet. So take a nice big inhale. On an exhale, press your feet into the ground. Take a nice big inhale here. And then on an exhale, release your feet and feel what happens to the rest of the body. Inhale. As you exhale, press the feet into the mat. Inhale here. And then exhale, release. Inhale. Exhale, press the feet into the mat. Inhale here. And then exhale, release. Nice big inhale. Press the feet into the mat, noticing everything that happens from your feet all the way up to your head. Inhale here. Exhale, release the feet, and once again notice everything that happens from your head all the way back down to your feet. Inhale. Press the feet into the mat as you exhale. Inhale here. And then exhale, release. One more. Nice big inhale. Exhale as you press your feet into the mat. Inhale here. And then exhale, release. Excellent. And then let your arms come down by your sides if they're not already. Let your feet go out long, so the legs are long, and let the feet fall open. Unless you have any pain in your lower back, in which case you can keep your feet on the mat and let the knees roll in. Make sure the lower back is comfortable and that your shoulder blades are tucked underneath the torso. Head completely supported by the mat. And then let your whole body settle down on your mat. Let it be heavy. Let the heels be heavy. The calves are heavy. The knees are heavy. And the thighs are heavy. The pelvis is heavy with the tailbone pressing into the mat. The torso is heavy with a bit of space for light and air around the curve of the lower back as it curves away from the mat. The middle back is fully supported as it presses into the mat. There's light and space around the neck as it curves back away from the ground. And then the head is heavy, completely supported by the mat beneath you as the back of the head presses into the mat. The arms are heavy. Hands, forearms, elbows, upper arms. All heavy, pressing into the mat. Giving into gravity. The whole body is pressing into the mat. And take your awareness to your right foot. Feel the position of your foot without looking at it. Feel the temperature of your foot. Notice if you can feel how the ground feels beneath your foot. Notice the calf. Notice the temperature of the calf. And moving up the leg to your right kneecap and your thigh. Feel how they're orientated on your mat. Notice the temperature. And take your awareness to the left foot. Notice the position of the left foot. Notice its temperature. Then the same, moving up the calf, to the knee, to the thigh. How are they positioned? How do they feel? And moving up through the core of the body, the middle of the pelvis, the tummy, the diaphragm, the lungs, your chest. Notice how they feel. Notice how they're orientated compared to the rest of you. Take your awareness to the right hand. Notice its position. Notice if each of the fingers are stretched out long or slightly curved. Notice the position of the thumb. Notice the temperature of the hand. Then move that awareness up through the right forearm, elbow, upper arm, and into the right shoulder. And take that awareness to the left hand. Notice how the left hand is positioned. Does it match the right, or is it slightly different? Notice the positions of the fingers, whether they're straight or curled or somewhere in between. Notice the position of the thumb. Notice the temperature of that hand. Then take that awareness up through the forearm, the elbow, the upper arm, and the left shoulder. Take that awareness across the collarbones and up to the throat and your neck, having a rest whilst we lay here, free from the weight of your head for a short while. And then take that awareness into the head, noticing how it feels as we're laid here. Notice whether you can lay here peacefully or whether you're already thinking about what to cook for dinner and what else you need to accomplish this evening. Not judging yourself in any way, just noticing. Notice how your face feels, whether there's any tension in your forehead or whether the muscles of your forehead are relaxed and released. Notice your eyes, whether they're taking a soft gaze on the back of your eyelids or whether they're active. Just noticing how your body feels this evening. The more we look, the more we find. Then gently bring your awareness back to your body on the mat. Maybe wiggling your fingers and your toes, maybe circling through your wrists and your ankles. Maybe your body wants to make a bigger movement, stretching out long or stretching down the side body, maybe hugging the knees in or doing a twist. And move your body in whatever way it craves. And you should know that well by now, after an hour of looking and feeling what your body needs. And then when you're ready, roll over onto your side and come up to seated. And let me thank you for practicing with me this evening. I hope to see you on your mats again soon.